So hello, everybody. Welcome back to BBB Sharing. This is Joshua, and today I have Jennifer Ortega with me. How are you doing?
I'm well.
Good. How are you? Doing all right?
Yes.
Good. So tell me a little bit about what you do.
So I am a psychotherapist or a mental health therapist. I have my own practice, Somos Wellness Counseling, and I primarily work with individuals between the age of 15 and 60 that want to explore their symptoms of either anxiety, depression, or trauma and come up with good coping skills to deal with them.
Okay. I know, especially now, I feel like we're starting to tap into that a lot more. Oh, you're good. This isn't going to break. But I would say it's being more recognized now, and it's being, a lot more accepted. I feel like maybe like my father's generation or like my grandparents' generation, it was very more of like we'll figure this out later. And then they never figured it out. But now everyone's starting to be a lot more aware of like anxiety and depression and a lot more mental problems.
Yes. And I want to attribute that to we have the language now, right? Because when before, if there was some form of mental health illness, it was seen as hysteria or the person is being possessed, or it was very taboo, right? So I think now not only do we have a culture that's open to the field, but we also have language now to be able to describe what the person is going through.
Okay. That does make sense. All right. And I mean, language changes constantly. So I can see that. So what do you kind of see, or what do you see more of as you started this?
So my journey within the mental health field started off in a self-reflection, as well as looking at the environment around me. My bachelor's degree is in criminology. So my first job outside of college was as a magistrate. So a magistrate here in Virginia, officers have to come to us, or the public could come to us and say, this is what happened, and we have to determine if there's probable cause to see if a crime occurred. So when I was sitting as a magistrate, I would hear a lot of domestic violence. I would hear a lot of driving while intoxicated. But and then I would also deal with emergency custody orders and temporary detention orders, which are mental health focused. So this is for individuals that are either harm to themselves or others. So once I started working with those orders and starting to get to know more of the providers, the clinicians that would see individuals that were going through this crisis, I became intrigued. Like, okay, what's going on? What's happening? How did they get to this point? So that's what introduced me to, I guess, the system of mental health.
Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it's really interesting diving into a person's mind or just how it works, because we don't know a lot about the brain when it comes to consciousness, at least in what I'm thinking of, like consciousness or like how it kind of works. We kind of understand like where things are, like certain parts have to deal with balance, certain parts have to deal with emotions, but on a deeper level, there's not a lot. Yeah.
Well, I think neurobiology, I think, is also increased and has also allowed us to explain trauma differently, because they gave us the language, right? Because someone that has experienced some form of trauma, their prefrontal cortex doesn't come on as quickly as someone that hasn't had experience trauma, right? So I think, yes, we don't know as much, but we know more than we knew before, right? When it comes to trauma. Anxiety also, right? Like it depends like what type of symptoms they're displaying, within that anxiety, right? It's not
Gotcha.
just the emotion, because it's an emotion, but what behaviors go with it. And the mental health field, what I do is look at the symptoms and then dissect them by determining, okay, what are the behaviors that you're displaying?
Mm-hmm.
And if I can use neurobiology to explain that to a client, like, yeah, is this part of the brain that's responsible for this? And dive into that, yeah, that's a great instrument to use for sure. But to get to what your comment, we know more about the brain, but we don't know all of it.
Yeah. And that's going to take a while until we figure that one out.
Maybe, or maybe
I hope
not.
so. Yeah.
You know,
You never
I'm
know.
not really that immersed in when it comes to neurobiology, but the little readings that I have done, we've have come a long way. Like now there's a therapeutic method called neurofeedback, where you're literally with headphones and a stimulating bear, and you're watching something. And if if the brain waves go a certain way, it like vibrates and it helps you regulate a certain behavior. So it's amazing. It's amazing the research and the work that's happening within neurobiology. Yeah.
Okay. Do you see any common practices or maybe practices that you would implement on, a client to help them kind of get through something or kind of help them with what they're dealing with?
Yes. So there are different type of practices out there. A lot of therapists are specialized in different form of modalities. Me specifically, I do cognitive behavioral therapy, which looks at your emotions, behaviors, and thoughts and how that influences you in your life. I also do dialectical behavioral therapy, which is not only looking at the thoughts, right, but we're also looking at the behaviors and measuring them in the same scope. I am also informed in internal family systems, which talks about parts work. Have you ever seen the movie Inside Out?
Yeah.
The cartoon?
Mm-hmm.
So internal family systems is basically those parts of you and how you interact with the world. So teaching the client about these parts within themselves, and that helps us feel more empowered, right? Because it gives us the permission to put some space between the behavior and not judge it, but try to understand where it's coming from.
Interesting. Okay. Do you ever find yourself taking work with you outside of it? Is that something that you constantly do, or is this, it doesn't really feel like that? I'm very curious as to how I feel like as a therapist, you have to, of course, there's a job to it. There's an analyzation to it. And I feel like, if you're just walking like in a grocery store and I can see you trying to practice just to kind of hone your skills, just walking in your everyday life.
Well, we have to have clear boundaries.
Yeah.
So we definitely practice that outside of work, right? Because you have to have those boundaries in order to maintain a work-life balance, because that's important self-care. So yes, I do practice self-care outside of work and that's what I ask my clients to do. So I have to kind of practice what I preach.
Yeah.
Right. So in that sense, yes, I do carry my work outside by doing self-care. But as far as what's discussed with the client within the room, I might analyze it for the purposes of note-taking. But it stays there because it's that space with the client.
Okay.
It's not something that I will have to take out with me.
Yeah. How is it easy for you to do that?
In the beginning, it was not. In the therapist role, it was not easy to do that. But it's with, I think, every individual that has some form of responsibility as work, right? You have to come up with a routine that will allow you to disconnect from work and go into life. And that could be as easy as shutting the door. Okay, I shut the door today, I'm done. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think that it was difficult for me to do that, to come up with that routine. But once I became aware of it, I said, okay, just closing the door.
Okay. Awesome. What got you, like, what was the passion for you that made you start this?
So because of my experience in the criminal justice system and working with individuals, because after working as a magistrate, I started to work as a probation officer. And some defendants don't want to talk to the probation officer, but others do. And then when they did, that also interests me because I was like, okay, I want to see how I can meet the person where they are, give them resources, because the type of therapist that I'm a licensed clinical social worker. So that I think I had that social worker already in me and wanting to provide resources for the individual to empower them in order for them to seek what they need. And I spoke to a friend of mine who's an attorney because I got a criminal justice degree, right? So I was like, oh, lawyer's the next thing. And I was talking to him, and I remember him saying, John, you want to be a social worker. You don't want to be an attorney. We don't do that. So he actually interested me in looking it up at VCU, looking up the program. And then I was like, yeah, this feels good. I definitely want to do that. And prior to my criminal justice degree, I was a mortician. So I did some grief counseling with the individuals that came in for funeral preparations for their loved ones. So I was unconsciously doing counseling and not knowing that there was a field in that. And that was in my early 20s. So, but I wasn't putting two and two together at that time.
Gotcha. Yeah, no, the doors open up once you start to understand what you can do and then what you're moving towards, and then you can start to bleed other things into it. Exactly. It's a very interesting how that works. Yeah. But how can people get into contact with you?
So if they would like to receive some therapeutic services, mental health-wise, they could go to my website at somoswellnesscounseling.com, or they could email me at info@Somos Wellness Counseling. And Somos is SOMOS.
Gotcha. Okay. Do you have a number that goes with that?
It's going to be 804-877-3219.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Did you have anything else that you wanted to tell anybody? All the people listening?
Well, if this kind of quirked their interest in maybe wanting to talk to a therapist, here in Virginia, we're also very fortunate to have community service boards, which are mental health clinics for the community, which can work with individuals' income. There's psychiatric care there as well. So if you're interested, but your funds are not available, there is a mental health clinic that you could go to that can definitely help you. And it's all throughout Virginia.
Okay. Thank you.
Anytime.
Anybody coming in, listening, make sure to follow us as well on Instagram, Spotify, YouTube, BBB Serving Central VA, or Ignite Sparked by BBB. You guys have a good rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time.